Hey guys, it's your favorite principal, Miss Young here, ready to kick off this screen to scratch testing expectations. And yes, I'm using this cool filter that makes me look super cool. I like this background, but I'll take the filter off after a while. But stay tuned for all of the expectations to do your best on the test. Okay, friends, here we go. So my expectations for when you take your test are to 1, you're going to show up with a great attitude, ready to go. I really am very serious about how you show up, and you just saying to yourself over and over, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to pass this test. I'm going to show growth, ready for a great day. Expectation numero dos is take it seriously. You are going to do your very best. As I keep saying over and over, you're going to take your time. You're going to take it very seriously. You're not going to let anybody distract you. Thumbs up. Cool. All right. Expectation number 3 is you're going to show your thinking. You've got to show your thinking. I've got to see that you are taking it seriously and you're putting your thoughts on paper. I'm going to show you a couple ways that I want you to do this, and we're going to take it easy the first time we take this major test, and then every single time we take another test, we'll have another one in February, and then we have the big day, which is start in May. We're going to pump it up each time, but this time I'm going to start off a little slow and just make sure that everybody has a way to show their thinking. It's called screen to scratch. So what you see on your screen and then how you show your thinking on your scratch paper. Okay guys, so the first one that I'm going to show you, the screen to scratch expectations, is going to be for the reading test. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to ask for 1,000,001 sheets of scratch paper. Yes, I said 1,000,001. I'm exaggerating, but you're going to ask for several of them. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to fold your paper into 4s. So fold it once, fold it twice. Now I have 4 boxes. How many boxes? 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. This is going to be your brain dump. So number 1 thing you got to do is brain dump. Okay. Brain dump. What is a brain dump, Miss Young? A brain dump is where you get all of your thoughts down on paper. I'm going to show you what the reading one will look like, and I'm going to make a separate video that will explain some of these things. So look here. I have stuff about plot, stories from beginning to middle to end. I have what nonfiction is, fiction, what to do when I have unknown words, I don't know what they are, how to do my process of elimination, which I'm going to show you that in a minute. But all the things that you can remember, just dump it all on this paper into boxes, and your teacher can also tell you what box should be for what. Okay, so after you've gotten all the things that you possibly can remember about things that you've learned in your reading class, everything's out on paper, that's called your brain dump. Now you can start your test. Now, the second thing you're going to do is you're going to get more paper. You're going to keep folding them into 4s because these just help us organize and sort our stuff to where it's clean and not all over the place. So for reading, it'll be different from math, but for reading, we're going to start by processing as we read. Because if you're like me and you read stuff and you don't remember what you're reading and you don't remember what you just read, you can do this, what we call a hashtag process, which will help you remember. So box number 1 will be passage number 1, passage number 2, passage number 3, and passage number 4. So for example, come over here. Okay, so record this. So if I have my brain dump right here, I got all my scratch paper ready to go. So passage number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so for example, I'm going to start reading this passage. Okay, this is on my screen and I got to get it to my scratch paper. Okay, it's called The Unwelcome Neighbor. I'm going to write that title down, The Unwelcome Neighbor. Did I spell that right? Probably. Okay, what do I think this passage is going to be about? I think it's probably about a neighbor that's unwelcome. Okay, so I'm going to be reading. I'm going to say, okay, Once upon a time, a pair of crows came across a huge old banyan tree. The tree had strong branches and a wonderful roof of green leaves that provided shade from the sun. It seemed like the perfect place to build a nest. Okay, what am I reading about? So I'm going to create some hashtags on my passage number 1 box just to capture the things that I'm reading as I read. So I'm looking at, okay, pair of crows, huge banyan tree, strong branches, wonderful roof, leaves, shade from the sun, perfect place to build a nest. Okay, so the things that's coming or popping out to me, I'm gonna say paragraph 1, I'm gonna say hashtag tree, hashtag perfect place for a nest. Okay, that should be enough for now. So then I'm gonna keep going. Paragraph 2, 3, and just keep going. Sometimes I can chunk the smaller ones and I can create a hashtag for multiple ones at the same time, but just enough hashtags to get me through the passage. So this one's only 2 pages. I might even put a hashtag for some pictures that I see just to give me a way to remember as well. Okay, so that's gonna be what we do, and we just keep going. Paragraph 2, I'm going to put my hashtags, and this just helps you to remember what you read, and you just keep going. So I need this for every passage, all your hashtags, okay? Okay, so when it is time to answer the questions, so I've read it all, I've put all my hashtags on my hashtag paper, everything's good to go. I am going to read the story, then go straight to the questions. I don't want you to read all of the stories first, do your hashtags, and then all your questions. You're going to read the story, hashtag all the paragraphs, and then go to your next paper to show your process of elimination thinking strategy. Okay, so for example, I have a few questions here, and for this passage, it looks like there are 6 total questions. No problem. So what that means is, back to me, I'm going to again fold my new paper. I have 4 boxes on the front and I have 4 boxes on the back. So technically I have enough for 8 questions. So for this paragraph number 1, come over here. My awesome daughter recording this video for me. Okay, so question number 1, this is going to be for the unwelcome neighbor. Let me make sure I label everything so I stay organized. Okay, so question number 1. So I'm going to look at question number 1. Question number 1 is saying can you see that? What does the word snatched mean in paragraph 11? Okay, I have A, B, C, and D. Okay, so I'm going to put my question is, I'm just going to quickly, I know what it's asking, what does snatched mean and where in paragraph 11? Okay, so I'm going to go A, B, C, and D. So depending on what my answer choices are, and I'm going to explain this in another video of how to get all the dictionary questions right, but you're going to just go through, okay, is it hid? Okay, it's either a no way Jose or a maybe baby. I call them no way Jose's and maybe babies. So is it hid? I don't think so. I'm gonna no way that one. Is it tossed? Okay, I've looked it up. I've read around the word. I've done all my thinking strategies. I don't think so. That's a no way. Is it broke? Okay, I don't think so, but I'll put a question mark because I'm not really sure. That could be a maybe baby. Is it grabbed? Okay, I'm thinking that could be one. So I'm going to go back to paragraph 11, plug in that answer, see if it makes sense. And then at the end, I'm going to circle my final answer. And I've shown that I've gotten that from paragraph 11. I've put the question, I've marked my no way Jose's and my maybe babies. I've circled my final answer and I put my text evidence. Okay. I'm going to do this for every question. Question number 1, 2, 3, and 4. So just to recap, for every question that you have, you're going to put each question in one of your 4 boxes, and I want you to show your thinking, okay? I don't want you to rewrite the whole question. I just want you to chunk it. What is the question actually asking? And then write A, B, C, or D. Then you'll have F, G, H, and J, and I want to see your no ways and your maybe babies. And when you circle your final answer, I want to know where you got that answer from. So for example, number 2, why is the fox's plan important to the resolution of the story? Okay, so it's basically asking fox's plan important to resolution. I would just write that down. Fox's plan important to resolution, question mark. Then I would put my F, G, H, and J. I would go through each answer choice one by one, and I'm going to process of elimination. Do I have a no way, or could it be a maybe? If I'm not really sure, I'm going to put a maybe next to it, and then I'll come back to it later. Okay, so it's no way Jose's, maybe babies, and you're circling your final answer with what paragraph you got it from. So this one, it doesn't say like the question number 1, it tells us where to go. But this one, we have to actually find it. So we're going to go back to the story. And when we're talking about resolution, I'm just giving you a hint right now. It's about we're talking about more towards the end of the story, the resolution, how the story is resolved. So I'm going to go back and kind of skim again, see kind of what's going on, and then let's look at how the story ends. And we're looking for the fox's plan. How is the fox's plan important to the resolution to the story? For me, if you're like me, I got to ask myself multiple times, what is this question asking? And then I go through each answer choice. Is it because the plan helps the crows learn how much they like their home? The plan causes the snake to move away from the tree, and so forth. You just keep asking, does this make sense? No, I don't think so. Does this make sense? It's a maybe. Let me think about that and come back to it. And you keep going until you get your final answer. So by the end of it, your paper should look like, question sheet should look like this. So this one was the unwelcome neighbor. I have my question 1, my question 2, my question 3. Forgot to put my question 4, A, B, C, D, and then I would do my thinking. And then here is the back, okay, question 5 and 6. And then if you notice, I only had 6 questions, so I could start my second paragraph. This is called second reading, I should say. It's called Mission Blue, and then I would start my process of elimination. I'm going to call it POE for short going forward. And then I have question number 2, and I would just keep going until I finish all of the questions, okay? Now, again, for your as you're reading, here are all of my 4 passages here. So I have the unwelcome neighbor, Mission Blue, cheese for dinner, and book clubs are for everyone. So with that being said, I have all of my paragraphs here. I have my hashtags here. I would say at least 1 to 2, even if you want to do 3 or more, that's fine, but at least 1 to 2 hashtags per chunk of text so that you can really stay with the reading and not get lost. So this is what I'm looking for your reading screen to scratch, and you're going to end up with so many of these papers, and I'm going to be super, super excited to see all of this thinking. And so, yeah, so reading, you'll have 3 different sheets. Your brain dump, what you're just putting all on paper as soon as you get your test so you can get all your thinking. That'll be your own personal cheat sheet. Then you'll have your reading hashtag. So as you're reading, you're just hashtagging and processing the text as you read so you don't forget what you're reading. And then when it's time for your questions, you'll organize them into 4s. Also, question number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so forth. Okay, that's what I'm looking for screen to scratch for reading. All right, so to recap, step 1, you're going to brain dump everything you remember on your scratch paper. Okay, I'm going to do a follow-up video for reading because I got some nuggets for you. Okay, step number 2, you're going to create a hashtag square for every reading. So passage number 1 will have the name of the passage and all the hashtags you can create for every paragraph or chunk of text that you can think of. I want you to just try to create hashtags, words that pop out, things that pop out to you, things that it makes you think about. Maybe you can ask it a question. Just create as many hashtags as you can for passage number 1, passage number 2, 3, 4, and if you happen to have a 5th one, just turn it on the back. All right. If you need more room, you can also turn it on the back. Okay. Step number 3, you're going to create your POE, your process of elimination for every question in every box. Okay. So I'm going to fold up my paper into 4s again. I got my question number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. For question number 1, I'm going to just quickly summarize what is this question asking. I'm going to write it in here, and then I'm going to no way Jose and maybe baby my other ones, whichever ones I want to come back to or think about. Those are my maybe babies. The ones that I'm for sure are not the answers, I'm going to cross those out. And whichever one I end up picking, I'm going to put my text evidence. Got it? All right. We are good with reading. Okay, so now I'm going to give you some nuggets because I used to be a reading teacher, and I'm going to give you a few things to remember that will help you. Teachers, you could have them create their brain dump sheet this way, or you can just use these nuggets to have them watch it back later, or you can pick and choose whatever it is, but I will just put everything quickly. I'm going to talk quickly. You can feel free to pause the video, stop the video, explain, ask for clarity, whatever you need, but these videos have to be really short because I don't know why. It just cuts off. Okay. All right, here we go. So I like to organize my brain dump into fiction, nonfiction, poetry, and drama. And then I have another one that I'm going to do I already showed you the process of elimination, the POE strategy, and I'm going to show you what to do when you come across unknown words. Okay, for now, let's talk about fiction. Fiction equals hashtag fake. Fake, hashtag fake, because nonfiction is hashtag not fake. Okay, it's real. Okay, cool. So when we're talking about a fake story or a fictional story, mainly they're going to give us a story with a storyline. This is called a plot. A plot is a story from beginning to middle to end. Okay, there's a few things that you need to know about when we're talking about a plot. So it may ask you, how does this help the plot? Something about plot. Plot is just the story, the storyline. Okay, all right. In the beginning is the exposition, also known as the setting or introduction, hashtag setting. This is where it gives us so much information about the characters, where it takes place, what they see, the personalities of the characters, all the things. You're also probably going to be introduced to the hashtag conflict, which is the main problem for the main character in the story. And the reason why I like to look for this towards the beginning of the story is because authors do not want to write a story where you have to keep reading and reading until you find a problem. The problem is going to be introduced towards the beginning of the story because that's what makes the story good and juicy. Okay, so here's the conflict, and normally it's the conflict is the main problem, hashtag main problem for main character. Okay, it's a big problem. Okay, we call this, as the story goes along, it's called the rising action. So how the problem gets worse and worse and worse and worse. We call this up here the climax or turning point. And it's basically how the story or how the problem begins to change or twist or become different in some way. A lot of times it's a decision that the main character makes, or some kind of just really big twist in the story that now everything has to change. Okay, after that, this is called the falling action. So the problem begins to kind of simmer down, settle down for a little bit, and then we see how the story is resolved. So this is called the hashtag resolution, how the story ends and is resolved. Okay. All right. So things to remember: the plot is the storyline that goes from beginning to middle to end. Normally it'll ask how the conflict or the resolution or the characters or the setting, the exposition affects the plot. Okay. It just makes it, how does it make it better? How does it make it stand out? Or how does it make it a good story? Okay. Be thinking about that. Authors want their story stories to be interesting and to be good. And so each of these pieces of the story play a part in how the story goes from beginning to middle to end. It'll also ask you hashtag the theme or central or key idea. Okay, all that is hashtag. I'm running out of room here. I'm gonna put a line right here. All it is the hashtag life lesson. Okay, the theme, I know it's blurry, sorry y'all, let me see if I can make it better. The theme is the hashtag life lesson. It is the life lesson of the story. What is the author trying to teach us? What is the author trying to teach us with this story? Okay, so this is pretty much all of the things that you need to know about a fiction story or something that is fake. Not real. It's basically you're reading the story to figure out what the messages are in the story, what things support, what sentences in the story support, or quotes that a character might say that could support what the theme or the life lesson is, and how the different parts of the story affect the storyline and make it better or make it a way to remember. All right, let's go to nonfiction, hashtag not fake, and it is real. Okay, so a lot of times the thing that you need to pay attention to, and I say this with every story, but it is the title. The title is gonna tells us important info. Forgive my handwriting, I'm just writing fast. Important info about what the story is about. I should say reading, what they're reading, because this isn't a story. It's real, okay? So if the story is called Book Clubs Are for Everyone, it's probably gonna be giving us reasons why book clubs should be for everyone. And that is for you a key or a clue to show you what the reading will be about. Okay. All right. So there's some things that you need to remember when we talk about the ways that the author calls attention to certain things. And we call that text features. Okay. Text features. Okay, right here. I wrote it better here. Okay, so things like bold text, subtitles, pictures, all of these things helps us to summarize information, and it helps the author call attention or like kind of give pointers and clues to things that they know are important. Okay, so yeah, so I'm going to stop with that for now. So text features like bold text, subtitles, pictures, captions, all of those things helps us to summarize what is important to know. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to talk about are text structures. This is basically the only thing that you need to know is how authors organize their thinking to make things make sense and to stand out to the reader. So the four main ways that authors organize their thinking to make their writing more easy to understand for the readers is they could either explain, they can use a way to explain it. So the reason why this, or this is does this because, or all the things. They could describe it by saying things like this, I'm writing about this plant, okay? It's very yellow. It has lots of leaves. It is filled with black rocks. So it could like be describing something, okay? Blurry. Okay, there we go. It could put something in sequential or chronological order. So all that means is just something in order. So either step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, or by dates. In 1865, this happened. Then in 1902, this happened. Then in 1929, this happened, and so forth. Or it could be cause and effect. So because of this thing that happened, this was the effect of it, and this is something that happened because of this thing that happened. Okay. There's another one called problem and solution that I want to remind you guys about, but it's basically, it could also be along the lines of explain, but they basically give a problem or a series of problems, like maybe one or two problems, and then what the solutions can be. So you might have a question that asks you about why the author chose to use one of these, and you would have to use your best thinking and make an inference or an educated guess of why you feel the author was trying to explain a thing or do a thing based on one of these ways to organize their thinking. Okay, the next thing you need to know when we're talking about nonfiction, this could be also for fiction too, but I just want to make sure it's clear. So when we talk about infer or conclude, it's going to ask you so many questions about what can the reader infer? What can you infer? What can you conclude about something? All that is what prediction can you make based on what you're reading? It could have something to do with, it might say paragraph 3 or paragraph 6, or what can you infer about what happened in paragraphs 9 and 10, or the resolution of the story, or whatever, okay? Or about what can you infer about how the author used sequential order to prove their point, whatever. All it is what prediction can you make based on the text? So you got to go back to the text, read it, and see which one of the answer choices makes the most sense when it's asking for you to infer or conclude. Got it? Okay, cool. Okay, so for poetry, I just want you to remember a couple things. So one thing that you need to know is that poems are broken up into they look like little paragraphs, but they're called stanzas, okay? So the stanzas are formed by, they look like sentences, but they're called lines. So you might have 1, 2, 3, 4 lines in one stanza. So the question might say, in stanza 1, the author uses a simile. What does the simile mean? And you might mistake that for line number 1. That's not the case. Stanza is the paragraph, but the line is like each little sentence. So for example, roses are red, violets are blue, sugar is sweet, so are you. I love you, you love me, do you like sugar and tea? I just made that up, okay? There are 2 stanzas, okay? But there are 8 lines total in the poem. So you might have 2 stanzas and you might have 8 lines. So just keep that in mind before you start answering questions, okay? The other thing is that poems do have a life lesson. They do have a theme. Theme is hashtag the life lesson. So it's what is the author really trying to teach us with the poem? What is it trying to call attention to with this poem? And then for poetry, you might be asked something about figurative language. Figurative language, all it is when the author says something, but they actually mean something else. Because if you read it like what it would say, it wouldn't really make much literal sense. It actually means something else. It has a deeper meaning. So for example, there are different examples of figurative language. So for example, simile. I might say, you are bright like a star. Okay, I wrote some examples. So you are bright like a star. Okay, I don't literally mean you are physically bright like a star, but what I mean is you're very smart, or I could mean that because some people think that being bright means you're smart, or I could be saying just like your energy is so bright like a star, just something like that. Depends on what the text is around it for you to make sense. Okay, now the other one, metaphor. Oh, and let me go back. A simile is comparing 2 things using like or as. So when I say you are bright like a star, I'm comparing 2 things, you and a star, okay? You are bright like a star, okay? But for metaphor, I'm going to compare 2 things without using like or as. So I might say, you're a star, you are a star. I don't literally mean you're a star. What I mean is, you are either reminding me of the energy of a star, or you're super bright, or just whatever. I'm just describing you as a star, okay? The other one is personification. So giving something that's not a person or human characteristics. So the dog frowned with anger, okay? Can a dog actually frown? Not really. Or can a dog Yeah, I mean, not really. You know what I mean. So the dog, we're personifying the dog by giving him a human-like characteristic of him frowning, when technically dogs can growl and they can look angry, but they don't frown like humans do. Okay. And then the last thing is imagery. So I think of hashtag image. So I'm thinking about what image comes to mind when I'm reading whatever. And a lot of times it's with the different senses. Okay. So I put 4 of the 5 senses here. So smell, touch, sight, and taste. So like when an author is writing about something, they might be giving you imagery about the smell of grandma's cookies. Okay. So if they're describing the aroma that they can smell when they walk through the door, it's giving you that image in your mind of what grandma's cookies smell like. Okay. Touch. Okay. Maybe they're describing warm water or something very, very cold or frigid or whatever. And so when you're reading, the author's giving you imagery about something that it wants you to feel or touch. Okay, something that you can see, the beautiful blue sky or the amazing, wonderful colors of the flowers that are in the garden. Okay, it's just wanting you to see it and form an image with your mind about what it would look like. And then another one would be taste. So I said like cheesy pizza, it might describe the cheese falling off of I'm not really good at drawing pizza, but the cheese is falling off the pizza slice. It's so warm, it's hot, it's just so good. You could taste everything, all the pepperonis, whatever. Okay. It's just wanting you to form an image in your mind based on how the author is describing it. So that is all of your figurative language, and those are all the things you need to know about poetry. Okay. So I was going to talk about drama. That would be the other genre in something that you would read in reading, but it's not really much other than stage directions that I want you to think about. So stage directions are just basically what the characters say. So it might have the character names, or it might have something that it says, character exits to the left, or character gets mad, or whatever. But basically it's just so the author will be able to communicate to the reader what's happening, and it's just the play. So what the characters would do if they were to perform it as a play. But I really wanted to give us some nuggets about what do you do when you encounter or come across an unknown word. Okay, unknown words could be in the text itself, or it could be in a question. There was an example I wanted to give you here. Okay, like this one. What is the meaning of the word sly in paragraph 16? Okay, you need to do a few things. First, you need to look around the word in the paragraph it tells you to go to and see if you can see what the word means. Because a lot of times we call that context clues. A lot of times you can look around and you can pick each of these answer choices and plug it back into the sentence. And if it still means the same thing, then you probably are on to the right track. Okay. The second thing you need to do is look up the word in the dictionary. I'm going to have teachers looking all around and just making sure that kids are using their dictionaries. Okay. If you're like me and if you read the dictionary and it still doesn't make any sense, just pull out some words from that definition and create a hashtag from what you do understand. So a lot of times you can pull out words from the sentence and plug it back into the sentence that it's asking you to decode, and it will make sense to you. Okay. Then you're going to, I call it plug and chug. Put your hashtag or the word back into the entire sentence, reread it, and see if it makes sense. Okay. So for example, what is the meaning of the word sly in paragraph 16? So I'm going to go up to paragraph 16. KJ, turn that down. I'm recording a video. Sorry, y'all. Okay, paragraph 16. That sly conejo tricked me, Coyote snarled. Okay, so that really doesn't give me a lot of information. It gives me some, but I'm going to read around it. Okay, so I'm going to go up to paragraph 15. Coyote stared at the cheese in the lake. How can I get it? he wondered. Coyote lifted his head to howl in frustration. At that moment, he saw the full moon. He looked again at the lake and saw the moon's reflection. That sly Conejo tricked me, Coyote snarled. Then I'm going to keep reading. For hours, Coyote searched high and low for Conejo. Not finding him, Coyote went to bed hungry. So it's asking me, what is the meaning of the word sly in paragraph 16? So he tricked him. That sly Conejo tricked him. Okay, but you know what? I'm going to make sure that I know what this word means. And a lot of times you can click on the word. It won't let me do it here. But I can look up the word in the dictionary online. So I'm going to go to look it up. And I'm going to go to the meaning of sly. Now, you would look up in your dictionary, or you would look up on your iPad, on the dictionary tool. So right here, the meaning of sly, having or showing a cunning and deceitful nature. She had a sly personality. Okay, another option would be remark, glance, facial expressions showing an insinuating way that one has some secret knowledge that may be harmful or embarrassing. So all of this is so many big words that you probably don't understand, because some of these words are really hard for me to understand too. So I'm going to hashtag some words that stand out to me. So things that stand out to me is like secret knowledge, harmful or embarrassing. So having some kind of, KJ, turn it off. Having some kind of secret knowledge or something that could be harmful or embarrassing. Okay, so let's go back to the passage and see if this makes sense. So would it be that small, let me go back. So I'm gonna plug and chug. That small Conejo tricked me? Would it be that quick Conejo tricked me? That clever Conejo tricked me? Or that friendly Conejo tricked me? Okay, if I'm looking at the hashtags that I talked about, I'm going to no way Jose, friendly, and maybe small, because those really don't have anything to do with what the definition said. But quick could kind of make sense, because we know that this might be fast. But which one makes the most sense if I look at the passage and if I look at the definition? I'm going to go with clever, because he could be clever or smart enough to trick him. Now, say, for example, you don't know what clever means. Do you just leave it alone? No, you need to look that word up in the dictionary too to see if they all match. Okay, I need you to look up any unknown word if it has anything to do with the question or an answer choice. Okay, friends, so these are going to be all the nuggets that you could put on your brain dump, and your teachers can pick and choose which box they want you to associate which brain dump with. So here are just all of the things that we talked about. Teachers can just keep going back, and you can do your own review. You can do your own refreshers, whatever you want. But I've reviewed all tests 3 through 5 for the past 3 years, and these are the main things that kids will need to know. So make sure that they have their brain dump, their hashtag square for all of the reading. Where is it? Yep, so all of their readings, I need to see their hashtags and then processing as they read. And then when it's time to get to the questions, make sure to tell your scholars, please make sure every box needs to have their POE, process of elimination, with their text evidence. Where did they find their answer? All right, good luck. We got this. Reading is fundamental. Okay, I'm back with my super cool filter, and now I'm going to talk about math. We love math. Okay, I took the filter off. So here's what we need to know about math. Your teachers have different ways that they want you to show your thinking. So I'm going to show you just the bare minimum expectations. I'll let your teachers tell you what they want, and then I will show you a strategy that really does work if your teachers want to take a look and adopt some of these. And then your teachers and I will have a conversation so that we're all on the same page by the time you take your interim number 2, what the screen to scratch strategy will ultimately look like by the time everything's said and done. Okay, all right, here we go. So the same way that we did with the reading, we're gonna fold our paper into to 4s, and on the front we can have 1, 2, 3, 4, and on the back we can have 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so bare minimum expectation is I want you to show your work for every question with each of these boxes representing a question. That is the bare minimum expectation, okay? So whatever the problem is, you're gonna read the problem, you're gonna write all of your math here, and then circle your answer, and then I do wanna see your A, B, C, D, just like I showed with reading, your POE, your process of elimination, okay? So you work your problem out, okay, cool, I got my answer. Now, I'm going to look at my answer choices and see, does my answer choice match, okay? Could it be A? My answer choice looks kind of like A, but I'll come back to it. Does it look like B? Okay, no, it's way off. Okay, does it look like C? Yeah, it's actually the same, but let me just make sure. Does it look like D? No, that's way off again. Okay, so I'm in between A and C. I'm going to reread my question one more time. Look at the answer I came up with. Look at the one that the two maybe babies that are on here, and the one that is the best answer, or the one that I know and I feel confident about, I'm going to go with that answer. Okay, and I'm going to do that for each box, for each question. So if you have 40 questions, you're going to have papers that page 1 will be questions 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and you just keep going with your boxes. All right, so here it is a little bit more in detail. So say, for example, your teacher has a process. Some teachers have the Q-tips, some teachers have SPAR, some teachers have different ways that they want you to show your thinking. We'll take a look at this, okay? So I'm going to make like a cute little acronym, but basically you're going to read and reread the question. You're going to write down either numbers, factors, keywords, anything that pops out to you. You're going to write down quickly what the question is asking. Do not rewrite the whole question, just a small little jotting down of what the question is asking. What operation do I need to use? I'm going to solve and show my thinking just like what I've already showed y'all here. And then I'm going to use my POE to A, B, C, D, my no ways and my babies. So for example, question number 1. Okay, it says here, John put a pie in the oven at 5:15 p.m. He took the pie out of the oven 35 minutes later. At what time did John take the pie out of the oven? So my step 1 is to read and reread. I read it once, let me reread it again. Okay, he put the pie in the oven at 5:15. He took the pie out of the oven 35 minutes later. At what time did John take the pie out of the oven? Okay, so the step 2 is write down factors, numbers, anything, keywords that stand out. So I'm going to put step 1. Okay, 1, reread and reread. Cool, I did that. So step number 2, write down the numbers or keywords. So for me, I'm going to say what? Okay, he put the pie in the oven at 5:15. I'm going to write down 5:15. Then 35 minutes later is a keyword. And then, yeah, so I would just go with that. 5:15 p.m. and then 35 minutes later. Those things seem pretty important to me. Okay, step number 3. What is the question asking? Okay, I don't need to rewrite it, but it's very clear. At what time did John take the pie out of the oven? So I don't need to write this whole thing. I'm just going to put what time did John take out the pie? Okay, so I'm looking for what time John took the pie out of the oven. Okay, so what operation do I use? Step number 4. If I started at a time and then it was 35 minutes later, I'm probably going to be using addition. Okay, cool. Step number 5, solve and show your thinking. So what steps would I need to solve? So 5:15 p.m. and then 35 minutes later, I think I'm going to add 35 minutes to this. Then I'm going to show my math, okay? Okay, so 5:15 plus 35. 5 plus 5 is 10, carry my 1, 3 plus 1 is 4, 4 plus 1 is 5, and then I bring down my colon here, and I'm going to bring down my 5. So 5:15 plus 35 minutes is 5:50 p.m., okay? So what time did he take the pie out of the oven? 515 plus 35 equals 550. Do I stop there? No, I'm going to do my A, B, C, D. Okay, I see 545 on there. Does that look close? It's a little close, but let me go. I'm going to maybe that one. Okay, 6:50 p.m. That's way off. I think I'm going to X that one because that doesn't even make sense. If it's 5:15 and it's only 30 or so minutes later, I'm not going to be way a whole hour and something ahead. So no. Okay, 5:50 p.m. Actually, that looks like my answer choice. So I'm going to maybe that one. And then what about 6:45 p.m.? Okay, no. To me, that's a no way, Jose. So I'm going to go with A and B are my maybe babies. So is it 5:45 or is it 5:50? Let me check one more time. 5:15 plus 35. I did my math. I can also count on my hands too. 5:15, 25, 35, 45 plus 5 is 50. So 550. So actually that checks out. So I'm going to go with my answer choice is C, 5:50 p.m. Okay, so I did all my steps. There's my question number 1. Now I'm going to go on to question numero 2. And keep going. Okay, this is the last thing for math. So I'm going to let the teachers dictate what to put on your brain dumps because I want to get on the same page with the math teachers before I say what to do. So, but there were some really good nuggets that some of the teachers did give me. So like putting your place value chart in one of your boxes, putting your multiplication chart in one of your boxes, your decimals and how to line up your decimals, okay? Division, okay? Divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. Ms. Jackson uses something called, hold on, let me see, something about McDonald's. Where is it? I'll think of it later, but it's something about McDonald's. There's a really good, y'all probably know what it is. Does McDonald's sell burgers? There it is. Does McDonald's sell burgers? So divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. Okay, so something about that. Rounding was something else that one of the teachers said to put on your brain dump. So like if it's more than 5, you round up to the nearest number, or if it's 4 or below, you round down to the nearest number, and then your arrays. So like 3 times 4 equals 12. So you would do 3 times 4 and you would just fill it in. That's also another way to do your multiplication chart. But there are many things that you can put on your brain dump. Math teachers, if you could just rewind a little bit to show them the ELA brain dump, it would make a little bit more sense. But basically the math brain dump is just to get everything out on paper, get everything that they know out on paper before they start their test so that they can just kind of feel confident and have their own little cheat sheet ready for them. Okay. But what I am asking for sure is for all math work to be folded in fourths, your scratch paper. And I want all of your questions to be in each box and for you to use some kind of strategy to show your work. So whether it's Q-tips, SPAR, cubes, whatever your teacher is teaching you, or teachers, if you like just using this process, that works too. And it works with every single question because me and Miss Williams went through and we worked out several problems, grades 3 through 5. And this process does work and it blends all of the processes that all the math teachers that I met with Friday talked about. So just let me know what works for you. And I can't wait to see all of this math thinking on Friday. Woo woo. All right, we're going science for 5th grade science. Woo woo. Okay, I'm going to just keep it real and tell you for science, there isn't a way that I know of, your teachers can tell you otherwise, that I know of to give you like a process of what to go through, because as you can see, all of the science questions are slightly different and you just really have to know what you're talking about. So please pay attention to your your science teachers. And that's another reason why we have it last, so you can get as much information as possible. But your brain dumps for science are going to be super, super important. I have one that I created as a example. Where is it? Here it is. So your teachers will show you what to brain dump, but this is extremely important for science because there's so much information that you need to know. And if you remember, box 1 should have my force and motion, box 2 should have my energy, or whatever. It's going to make it so much easier for you. And then for your thinking, I do want you, again, everybody's going to do the same thing. I want my 4 boxes so that your front has 4 questions, your back has another 4 questions. And for science, all I want you to do is just your A, B, C, and D. For now, you're going to just do your no way Jose's and your maybe babies. Please refer back to the ELA and the math video. Just watch this whole video start to finish so that you kind of get an idea of what each test should look like. But for science, for sure, A, B, C, and D, I want to see your no ways, your maybe babies, and just show any thinking, write down anything, definitions, whatever. Okay, just show your thinking on paper, and we'll continue to get the science screen to scratch strategy a little bit more improved for you guys. But let's just see what you can do for now. Y'all got this. Go science.